And so I went to read up on Hunter Biden, learn a little more about him, and I found this very extensive profile in the New Yorker. And here's what it says. Hunter said that at that point, he had not slept for several days. Driving east on Interstate 10 just beyond Palm Springs, he lost control of his car, which jumped the median and skidded to a stop on the shoulder of the westbound side. He called Hertz, which came to collect the damaged car and gave him a second rental. The Hertz rental officer told me he found a crack pipe in the car and on one of the consoles a line of white powder residue. Beau Biden's Attorney General badge was on the dashboard. Hertz called the Prescott Police Department, and officers filed a narcotics offense report listing items seized in the car, including a plastic bag containing white powdery substance, a Secret Service business card, credit cards, and Hunter Biden's driver's license. That is what we would call evidence. And I don't want to make light of anybody's substance abuse issues. I know the president's working real hard to solve those throughout the country, but it's a little hard to believe that Burisma hired Hunter Biden to resolve their international disputes when he could not resolve his own dispute with Hertz rental car over leaving cocaine and a crack pipe in the car.
Mr. Chairman, I rise in opposition to this amendment, and I would say that the pot calling the kettle black is not something that we should do. I don't know what members, if any, have had any problems with substance abuse, been busted in DUI. I don't know. But if I did, I wouldn't raise it against anyone on this committee. I don't think it's proper.
Just when you think the GOP couldn't lack any more self-awareness, you have Matt Gaetz calling someone else out for a history of substance abuse. Now, for those of you who don't know, Matt Gaetz was arrested in 2008 for a DUI. He'd been pulled over for speeding in a BMW registered to his father, then State Senator Don Gaetz. According to the Okaloosa County deputy, Gaetz fumbled for his license and registration, his eyes were watery and bloodshot, and he swayed and staggered when he got out of his car. He smelled of alcohol, and when asked if he'd been drinking, he said no. Minutes later, he changed his answer to yes, that he drank 2 beers. He failed an eye test twice and declined any field sobriety tests. He then refused a breath test. Fast forward, Gaetz did not have his license suspended for a year for refusing the breath test as Florida law dictates. His refusal was never used against him in a criminal proceeding, charges against him were dismissed, and the arresting officer had resigned. In fact, in his attorney's motion to dismiss the charges, it was written that there was no evidence that he'd been impaired, and a new detail miraculously appeared, stating that a civilian witness drove by who knew Gaetz and observed no indication of impairment. Although, curiously enough, the new witness was never named, not in that document or in any case records at the county clerk's office. But that's the great thing about this country, that you have nothing to worry about when your father is a state senator. I mean that you're innocent until proven guilty. And so it was especially bizarre to hear Gaetz use his time at the impeachment hearings to sanctimoniously grandstand about Hunter Biden's substance abuse issues, given his own really public run-ins with the law and his readily available mugshot. I mean, even the C-SPAN camera pans back to Gaetz at the very mention of a DUI, even though Representative Hank Johnson left his rebuttal purposefully vague. And that's because everyone, even the C-SPAN camera operator, knows just how much Gaetz sounds like a raging hypocrite here. And look, you don't have to like Hunter Biden, and despite what the GOP would have you believe, he's actually not running for president in 2020, but at the very least, he's been open about his past. He's spoken at length about the struggles that he and his family have faced and the impact that it's had on his loved ones and what it took to get clean. He owned his mistakes and moved past them, which is more than we can say about Gaetz, who still claims that because the charges were dropped, he's just, quote, pleased the truth has come out. Although if there's one thing that we know about Matt Gaetz, it's that his version of the truth and everyone else's aren't quite the same. When Gaetz was asked about his comments by a CNN reporter, he responded, "I didn't pay much attention to it. I'm focused on the president. I don't think Americans are hanging on a traffic incident I had a decade ago." Gaetz was speeding. He swayed and staggered. He smelled of alcohol. He lied about how many drinks he drank. He failed 2 eye tests. He declined a field sobriety test. He refused a breath test. A traffic incident is when you forget to signal. In 2008, when Gaetz was arrested, nearly 12,000 people in this country were killed in alcohol-impaired driving crashes. So I'm not sure what Gaetz did would exactly qualify as just a traffic incident. The fact is that on so many levels, what Gaetz tried to do was beyond misguided. First by trying to weaponize an issue that he himself is guilty of, and then by trying to once again present this false equivalency that Trump was justified in carrying out an international extortion scheme because of the mistaken and debunked conspiracy theory that Joe Biden fired a prosecutor to protect his son. So Gaetz can continue to humiliate himself on a daily basis because he can't get enough of his new role as the president's lapdog, but something tells me that he'll look back and regret making this decision. Or, if history is any indicator, he'll just pretend that it never happened.